Hello, and welcome to the Irish Aesthete. Today I want to talk to you about one of the most charming, idiosyncratic characters of late 18th, early 19th century Ireland, the Reverend Daniel Augustus Beaufort. Dr. Beaufort was a much-loved character during his lifetime. He's travelled almost constantly, staying with friends, and when he wasn't doing that, he was writing his journals or sending people letters. He was extraordinarily talented. He was something of a polymath, but in one area, he had a fatal weakness, and this was a particular problem because he had a large family to support. He was perfectly hopeless with money. He was the original Mr. Micawber, half a century before Dickens invented the character. Small and energetic, he had, as a later biographer wrote of him, so many interests that he seldom concentrated on any of them long enough to make a lasting impact. If there was a pedigree to be puzzled out, an escutcheon to be designed, a good executor to be found, a plan to be drawn, a congratulatory address to be written, or a confidential business to be transacted, the solution was often, ask Dr. Beaufort. Richard Wellesley, the first Marquis Wellesley, said of him, "Little Dr. Beaufort of Navan would make a good terrier." I think there's a compliment in there somewhere. Daniel Beaufort was born in London in 1739 in East Barnet, where his father Daniel Cornelius de Beaufort was then the vicar. The elder Daniel had been a Huguenot pastor, but he converted to the Church of England, which is how, in 1747, he came to be offered the position of private chaplain to William Stanhope, 1st Earl of Harrington, who had just been appointed Viceroy in Ireland. Now, as a rule, clergymen who got such a role worked it hard to their advantage and usually ended up with an affluent bishopric for themselves. But Daniel Cornelius de Beaufort, like his son after him, wasn't very good at looking after number one, so he ended up with just being the rector of Navan, a relatively modest parish in County Meath, some 35 miles northwest of Dublin. This was the post that Daniel would inherit from his father, as he too became an Anglican clergyman. He was rector of Navan from 1765 to 1818, although, given that he was constantly travelling or paying attention to other projects, it can't be said that he was a very good pastor to his flock. 2 years after taking up the post in Navan, he married Mary Waller, a local heiress. However, this doesn't seem to have helped much to ease his lifelong money problems. The couple lived in a house above the town called Flower Hill, alas, since demolished. Although from the start there were regular departures from the area, usually owing to financial difficulties and the need to escape creditors. There were 5 children, all talented, but 2 particularly worth mentioning. The first was their younger son, Francis Beaufort, who was a delicate child and was recommended sea bathing. As a result, he was put into the Royal Navy at the age of 13 and rose to become a rear admiral. Francis Beaufort is best remembered as the inventor of the Beaufort scale, which he came up with in 1805. This, apparently, is an empirical measure that relates wind speeds to observed conditions at sea or on land, and is still used today. I'm not really sure what that means, so let's move on to the eldest of the Beaufort's 3 daughters, Frances Anne, who in 1798 married, as his 4th wife, Richard Lovell Edgeworth of Edgeworthstown. The Beauforts and the Edgeworths were old friends. A daughter of Richard Lovell from his first marriage, the famous author Maria Edgeworth, wrote that Daniel Beaufort was an excellent clergyman of a liberal spirit and conciliating manners, a man of taste and literature. Maria Edgeworth's 1817 novel, Ormond, contains a character called Dr. Cambray, who's an Anglican clergyman of Huguenot extraction. He's believed to have been modelled on Daniel Beaufort. Dr. Cambray is described in the book as being a very agreeable, respectable, amiable person whose persuasive, benevolent politeness could not have failed to operate, even on first acquaintance, in pleasing and conciliating even those who were of opposite opinions. Maria Edgeworth, by the way, was a year older than her new stepmother. But the 2 women became devoted friends, not least because Frances Beaufort was equally talented, particularly as a watercolourist, and here we can see some of her work, including a view of Edgeworthstown House. Just to complicate matters further, Francis's brother, The aforementioned Francis Beaufort, inventor of the Beaufort scale, married as his second wife one of his sister's stepdaughters, Honora. He was thus Richard Lovell Edgeworth's son-in-law and brother-in-law simultaneously. But I think that's enough complications for one day. So in the next episode, I'll tell you a little more about some of Dr. Beaufort's extracurricular activities, particularly as a cartographer. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.